Hello gamers. So how's it going? I had a random idea. Well, I don't know if I'd consider it random. It's just kind of like in the moment I was looking back at the ginormous playlist that is all of the album covers that I ever remade in SFM or slightly altered in some way, just to have some kind of personal touch to them. Um, and I've included them here just as like a tier list. And I decided to go through them because I think I have so many that I'd rather just go through them than just keep looking at them like one by one. So this is that list, and this is what I'm doing tonight. So yeah, um, I don't know if I'll edit this at all, but like I may, just depending on how much I talk about them. Like honestly, just show them on the screen if it's really that important. You know what? Yeah, I think I'll do that. So here's what we'll do. I will get image thingy up for each one. I'm going to start with this Another Light. So for Another Light, I honestly just took the cover and edited it slightly in Photoscape X just to make it look like Germ from Night in the Woods. Yeah, you really have to zoom in to see it, but he's there. And I made it sort of green. I made the green and blue altered, so it's like opposite almost. So yeah, it's not really that much of like a super amazing edit, but I certainly, looking at it, I certainly think it's much better than anything else I could have done with the cover because it's so artistic that it's just hard to replicate and hard to do in like SFM or anything like that. So it really just became its own thing. I'd just put it in A. It's simple. It does its job. It's a recreation that's not probably almost copyright infringing, but that's okay. It's fine. Around the Fur from Deftones. Yeah, so I made this one probably about the time I was just getting into Deftones, like officially. And it does its job. I mean, it certainly is the album cover. Hang on here. It certainly is the album cover. It's of Maddie, or Maddie's Medic, I should say. And yeah, it is the album cover. I don't really have much to say besides some people don't like the fact that it's technically not a woman in the album cover. So I mean, yeah, there's that. You kind of have me there, but I might just throw this in A just because like I think I nailed it with this one just because I tried really hard to make it look as if the camera was focused specifically on the medic. And I really tried to get that effect down. It doesn't look that good. I mean, you can kind of see like the blurriness of the background a little bit, but I didn't really do it that well, but I certainly did do it. So I would say this is like an A tier. Like it did its job. It certainly wasn't something that I would like rate extremely high just because I tried and it looks good. So Blue from Third Eye Blind, I just don't like the way I did this way back in the day. I don't like how I did this. It just doesn't look good. It's a cool effect, and that's the only thing that's really saving it. I did some like weird effect in Gary's mod where I put like a white wall up and then I put characters poking through it as if it were like some kind of like bleed through. I don't know. I don't know what I was going for. This is when I was doing Gary's mod, so I was extremely, looking for something to make it like well, I think it looks all right still. Like I'm not super opposed to it. It doesn't look that good. Especially you can see I actually don't know if this is an SFM or not, but I'd say it's a C. It's like average. It's not that great. I didn't really do a good job with it. I could have done way better with that, but I just kind of felt lazy. Okay, now we're on to the Concrete and Gold by Foo Fighters. This is a small image. It's not that big of a photo. It's simple. It does its job. It is the album cover, just EF2ified. So I think it gets like a B. It doesn't look that it like you can tell by the detail it doesn't look that good. Once you actually look closer, you can see it was just really weird edits with a pen. So it doesn't really get, excuse me, that many points. but it is certainly like, you know, it did its job like the others. It did what it was supposed to do, but I think it didn't do as well as I thought it would. Next one is Covers by Deftones. This is an interesting one because it was like one of the more recent ones I made, but I still felt weird about using this kind of like shirtless model. Um, yeah, it's a TF2 shirtless model from Gary's Mod. It doesn't look good. I had to blur this a lot, and I actually think I added some noise. Yeah, I added some like TV noise to it to just make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know, but the smoke effect actually looks all right. The the legs look fine. Everything else looks good. I actually like this one. I'd probably put it at bottom of A, just because it works and it looks pretty decent. So, like for, and also I'm giving myself like a handicap point because this is a shirtless model, so it automatically kind of looks like crap because the shirtless models were made in like the Mesozoic era, so of course it doesn't really look that good. And then we have De Still, which is first White Stripes album that I have on here in alphabetical order. I tried to put me and Maddie on White Stripes a lot for some reason. I don't really know. Like, oh, there's a boy and a girl in the band. Oh boy, oh that's so cool. I tried to do that a lot, and it looks fine. It's just some of the shadows look kind of funky. Like I didn't really do a good job of cleaning that up. It looks cool because I actually did try to make it look like a red carpet or a red flooring sort of thing, and it kind of works. But it also kind of looks funny because if you look closely, you kind of just see how the detail bleeds through, and it's not really that good. The shapes look good for what they are. I think I took these straight from the album cover, if I'm not wrong. I don't know about that. I might have just put shapes on. But regardless, I tried kind of hard on this one. It took a lot of patience. So I'm gonna say it's like top of B because it doesn't look that great, but hey, I tried really hard. Next, let's see. Deftones, the self-titled. I just love this one. How much effort I put into it. If you want to know what this is from, look up Deftones album cover and look for the one with the skull. This is the one that I worked to make look like that. And I think it just looks awesome. It just looks amazing. I mean, I don't really have much else to say besides it just looks really good. And I like how I did it. And the detail, when you look in, looks amazing. It just kind of works really well. So yeah, I actually really like this one for what it's worth. I don't even like this album that much. Uh, but it's like an S tier album cover because I just worked so damn hard on it that it looked good. And next is Diamond Eyes, which is another Deftones album. And you guessed it, it's a fucking bird. Yep, there's not much to say here. It is Archimedes, and that's about it. Although I did try to clean up like the model a little bit. Like I didn't try with the tail. I didn't move the tail at all. But you can kind of see that I went around the edges here a little bit and tried to smooth it out. So it looked a little more bird-esque. So I at least tried with this one, and I'd say it's like a top of A. Or maybe an S. I'd say S comfortably, like bottom S. Because that at least I tried pretty hard with, and it turned out pretty good. At least I can kind of vouch for myself on that one. It's kind of all just like somewhat pity points for myself. So Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. This is the SFM remaster of a Gmod that I did, I believe. It really needed a facelift. I don't know where it is in my photos at all at this point. It seriously needed a facelift, and I'm so glad I did this because I put some little details in there, like text, and I just kind of put a little more attention to the characters, even though it is, yes, it is a sequence, but I feel pretty good about this just because it looks nice. It doesn't focus on the bomb as much because that's the whole point of the album cover. If you look up Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace, that's the entire point of the album cover, but it kind of makes a cool vibe for the TF2 thing that it was going for. I think it kind of stands out, at least somewhat. It doesn't, it actually strays from the source material in a good way. I'm actually putting that in F because it's just kind of classy. I'd say it's like about on par with Diamond Eyes because it's about on par with how much effort I put into it. Elephant. Elephant is a really popular White Stripes album, and I just slapped me a Matty on it, and I actually really I don't like this album that much, but the amount of detail is actually really crisp on this cover. It's just good. It's just really good. I kind of hate that the really good albums that I did, like they look so good, but it's like I don't like the album that much. Like I don't know. Sometimes I just make that one that is really good, and it's always the albums I don't even like that much. Like this is not what my album rating would look like. Certain. So Elephant, and then we have Foo Fighters, the self-titled, which I made into a Destiny one with Last Word. I really didn't know which gun to use. I was just kind of like, might as well be one of them. And that kind of looked the most like a blaster or like a alien blaster. So this is it. Vex Fighters. Yeah. Vex Fighters, I'd say, is like, it at least looks better than the original Foo Fighters thing I did. And it looks bad. It didn't really look that good. And this was a very good overall, because I mean, I also put intentional noise in there, but you can see there's a lot of detail at least, and the lighting actually looks a lot better. So yeah, this is probably also like at least bottom of S. Or no, actually, I'd say like it's super simple to make, obviously, but getting the lighting down was actually really difficult. So I'm gonna put it like there. Gore. Let me actually get the item. Gore is a Deftones album. Not my favorite, but this album cover is really fire. I don't know why. I did really well on this one specifically, but I actually did like super well. And man, I really want to put it in like top of A or something, because it just looks good. The detail is fine. The lighting was actually really pretty, or at least not pretty, just very solid. I'm a fan of it. I like Gore, the album, not really, but the album cover. So I think this is like one of those things where I could put it in bottom of S and be comfortable, but I'm gonna put it in top of A just because it's really simple to do. It's just put a bunch of sequences down and repeat, and you're done. That's the poster. So I'm not like that happy about how I did it, because kind of cheated. But you know, it's just kind of, there's multiple ways of doing it, and that was just the way I chose to do it. All right, take a quick break, and I will be right back. All right, welcome back to Childhood Reminiscence, aka looking at my album covers. All right, just had to go up and down the stairs a bit. So, next one is a Jose Galvez, or I think Jose Galvez? Yeah, Jose Galvez album from Ozma. It's not good. It's just not good. I kind of just look at this, and every time I look at it, I'm just like, what the hell? So the original album cover I might have to find, but it's really simple. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could put a little emotional thing behind it, and it was like, it's kind of cool. The Jose Galvez, Gwyn Park. I don't really know where I was going with this one. It's not that good. I just hate it every time I look at it. So no. Let's just all unanimously agree this is a D tier album cover. This should not exist. It looks alright as a poster. But it's just not, and it kind of looks cool for photography purposes. Like if anyone wanted to put it in a place that wasn't D, it would be low C, because it at least looks alright. It's a poster, and it looks dramatic, and it looks cool, but it's not a good album cover. It's just not a good album cover. It doesn't work. It doesn't do its job, and it doesn't look good. All right. Anyway, after that train wreck, let's see. Hurley from Weezer. Yeah, I'm actually kind of a fan of this one, but it doesn't. I don't know. It just always has stricken. It strikes me different nowadays, just because it's kind of a little bit odd. The beard looks like high res, but it looks like it's kind of low res at the same time. Heavy Smile looks kind of emotionless, but that's also kind of like normal. I don't really know. I'm just kind of in between on this one. Like I'd put it in like lower A because it still looks solid, and if you zoom in and the detail kind of loses, you lose some detail, but it's at least like from afar you can tell what it is if you're a Weezer fan, and it works. It works. It's an album cover, and it kind of does its job. So there's at least that. So this is I Hate Jazz by what the hell was it? Mike Kroll. I had this weird phase with Mike Kroll. He's kind of like this garage alt punk rock band guy. He's all right. I'm not a big fan of his music nowadays. Like he made a pretty good album with Power Chords, which is actually a different one I did in here. But I Hate Jazz, I actually made this look kind of nice. There's no shadows on intention because there's no shadows as well in the album cover. So yeah, I would say it's a suit. It's a recreation that's suit to be a recreation, and I won't shit on it because even if you zoom in, like the detail looks pretty all right. Some of the posing is a little off, but like that I could kind of care less about. All right, and then we have what is it? In Your Honor. Oh, by Foo Fighters. Yeah, this is actually a weird one for me because I've liked it for a significant amount of time. I haven't changed this, even though I've had a deep down desire to want to change this. Like, there's something about it that looks perfectly fine. And it's dated because there's my old logo here with the engineer with the smoky sombrero. It's dated, but it looks good. It just, I could leave that for the next like 10 years and I'd probably be like, oh, hell yeah, that's good. And it looks good. I'd put it in like, this is something that I would be comfortable putting in S myself just because like it's not that great looks wise, but it has held up. I've just never thought like this is a bad album cover. I've just been like, this is good. This has just genuinely been something that I did really well on for how much effort I put into it. You see each arrow here? I manually posed every arrow of that in Gary's mod. Gary's mod. That is the most painful thing I can ever do to myself, and it's just, ugh. I can't believe I did all of that just for this. And it's not even, but like it actually kind of looks, it has its own vibe at that point just because it's like, hey, I'm my own thing. It kind of looks nice and it doesn't really upset me. So yeah, that's definitely going to get like an S tier ish rank because it just looks good. So Insomniac, the newest version, I'm not going to include um I'm not going to include the original version just because it's it's fine. Like I don't need to. It looks about the same, just like cropped a little bit. So if you don't know, Green Day made Insomniac, and then they released the 25th anniversary edition like last year, I think, or no, maybe it was. I don't know. I think it was either 2020, 21. It was in within the last 2 years, and I forget when it was. But this is my take on the remastered 25th edition thing, and it actually like looks good when you get down to the detail of it. Some of the lighting is off, and like Maddie's face is way too like overexposed, and it looks kind of funny. I tried to compensate for that, but it definitely was. This was a tough edit, really tough edit, but it just looks good, and I'd actually be comfortable with making this like one of my favorite. Excuse me, one of my favorite like recreations I ever did because it just looks good. Like if you just like kind of minimize it and you're playing it on iTunes or whatever and it looks like this, it just looks fancy. I don't know. I just like it too much. But it's comfortably like somewhere in the S's just cuz it actually works pretty well. Um I'd say better than like Echoes, but not better than like the Vex Fighters one. So, then we have what do we have next? Koi no Yokon. Oh my god, such a good album. So, Koi no Yokon, I put this up and people like this one a lot, apparently, when I was posting these on like Reddit and whatsoever. Like, people like this one a lot. I like it too. It feels weird being the creator of it because I know how this weird, like, light bokeh effect was created, so it doesn't look that cool to me, but I can understand if you like look at it from this like minimized perspective, it kind of looks cool. So, whoa, we're losing it. God. All right. So, I'd say for this one, it's like a comfortable like top of like middle A, a little bit better than another light with Germ. That's about where it's at. I'm not like super a big fan of it, but it's certainly like an album cover I decided I wanted to kind of go all out for, and I kind of did. So that was the result. Make Believe from Weezer. I did this one kind of recently, actually. I did a lot of Weezer album covers over the last like 4 years or 3 or 4 years. This one I did like last year, I guess, or I guess sometime in there. I don't know, but it's been a while since I made this, but you can at least see like I tried to compensate when I made this. The detail was kind of compromised because the original Make Believe album cover is like 500 by 500 and it looks like ass. But you can kind of see I compensated and it looks all right even if when I zoom in. It's a good album cover. It kind of just it looks dated because I tried to make it look like that 2005, funk sort of thing. Not like Funk the YouTuber, but like a 2005 funk. Um this actually I'd probably reasonably sit like up here just because it looks it's pleasant to look at. It's not like painful, even though it is Make Believe by Weezer, but it is like an album cover and it just looks fine. I'd say like maybe a little bit below Deftones around the fur. It does its job and it looks good. Maladroit by Weezer. Now we're getting into a bunch of Weezer because I pretty much did most of the significant Weezer albums that worked. So Maladroit here, I had a lot of fun making this one. This one was like an entire thing. I put so much detail into it, and it was really fun to make. I put a Dolichus bar there, bonk, a quick fix, a lamp, chair that was also there, like from Maladroit. Painting. The curtains look kind of weird, but if you zoom out, it doesn't really even look that bad. So, yeah. So, Maladroit, I'm going to say this is kind of just like an easy S. I don't really have a problem with it that much. It's pretty good. It's really good, I'd say, actually, because I like the amount of detail to put into it once you're actually looking at it. The font is a little fucky, and that's kind of what brings it down. And the curtains are a little weird. If the curtains weren't fucked up and this font looked a little better, I think that would be like an easy top tier. Anyway, we got Morbid Stuff. Ah, yes, the drama album that I made. So yeah, no surprises here. Around 2019, 2020, I had drama with people. This is what happens when you have, kind of not great friend groups. But I had mainly drama with my friends. I don't even want to point names. That's not really a good thing to do. I had drama with people. You get the idea. This happened. But good album, sound wise, and good album cover. I actually had a lot of fun making this one. The detail is probably my favorite because I did try to put some shadows in there that look somewhat real, but they're not quite real. Like they almost look like faux reality, like it's some kind of weird video game simulation. And the font is at least on point just because that was easy to do. It's pretty S tier. It's like up here S tier. Sorry, I did not mean to. It's like right up here, I'd say. I'd comfortably put it there just because it's something that I put a lot of time into just for many reasons, but I just enjoyed making it. So yeah, there's that. Like drama stuff aside, I actually really liked making that one. All right, where did it go? What the hell? All right, there we go. Nimrod by Green Day. This is one that I made in like 2020 or something, 2019 maybe. It's you can kind of tell it's one of my older posters, but it actually looks like TF2-esque. It almost like the Scout one kind of looks like more Borderlands-ish with the lighting. The Medic one looks pretty TF2-ish. And originally these are presidents, but I just wanted to put someone in like sort of official clothing for that. This is like, it's really easy to do, but I had some fun making it. And I think it looks TF2-ish enough. I didn't want to go with like the text because that I don't know what I would have done here, but it looks TF2-ish enough that I would comfortably put it like somewhere S, just because it looks good. It's just a solid album cover. I don't really have much wrong with it besides the scout. Excuse me, I'm burping a lot. I don't have much wrong with it besides like the scout's lighting. Like that's it. Where's my album cover? Oh, okay, there we go. So now we are on to No Cigar, I believe. I'm looking at the list and everything else correctly. No Cigar is a Davies Gray album, or if you listen to Red Vox quite extensively, you would know this is a Red Vox album. A very old Red Vox album, but it's under the name Davies Gray, or I guess the phone name Davies Gray, and the album name's No Cigar. It's basically a Red Vox album, but it's more Western-ish, and it sounds a little more like 1960s, 1970s, like classic rock, or not like classic rock, more like 60s rock essentially. Yeah, I'd put this one. It just looks wise. It still holds up. It just like I've made this one probably like a year ago, and it looks good. It looks really good. I think I got all the details like just about right. The lighting looks good. I tried really hard with the hand. The hand doesn't look completely right, but the details just make up for it a lot. And it looks really good. If like even if you zoom in, it looks good. It's very good. One of my favorites that I made. But it's unfortunately not an album I listen to like a lot. Then we have Ohms, which is barely a recreation. Oh god, it looks funny in the recording. Whoa. Yeah, I forgot it does that. So Ohms is really hard to do. I don't know what I would have done here that would have stayed a little bit to the source material and would have looked good. So I just put a demo on and a Givus, and I was like, sure, that works. Because I just wanted to do all of them, but I was like, I didn't know what to put on. It was just kind of funny. Because I was like, what the hell am I gonna do for this eye shit? Like, I was like, oh, the eye demo man, haha, funny. So I guess, yeah, there you go. It's not that good. The album itself is pretty good, but this is not like, I didn't put enough effort into it. Like I did put the maximum amount of effort into it, but there's not much you can do with it. So it's just kind of stagnant, and it's kind of at the bottom of A. It doesn't look great. So I did a cover of, this was originally supposed to be for the single. Oh my god, it's huge. Forgot about that. This was originally supposed to be a cover for like the single No Surprises by Radiohead, but I just put it for OK Computer because it looks really nice. It kind of doesn't fit the theme of the album that well, but it certainly looks cool. That's like all it's really got going for it. If I had to do a different one for OK Computer, I'd be fully on board with doing that just because I didn't really want this to be the OK Computer, but I was like, you know what? That just kind of works. So I just did it anyways. I put it in B just because the purpose wise isn't really there, but it looks good. So yeah, it'd probably be higher by someone actually just wanting to rank it arc wise because it probably looks better than I think it does. Uh, One by One by Foo Fighters. I did this one in the Gary's Mod era, sort of. I tried to make this heart stand up perfectly straight and then put a TF2 logo in here and then edit it to look like it was on fire. And that's what you get here. Yeah, it looks kind of basic. I mean, it's like the start of when I tried to do actual artwork within a poster. So yeah, this is like the start of that, and it looks fine, but it's not like something I would personally like want to use more of nowadays. It kind of just looks too basic. The text actually looks good. I'll actually say that. The text in this one I nailed somehow. I don't know, but I actually had a good time with that one. Pablo Honey I did really quickly. and just put my face in there. It's like it's probably about as basic as I could do with this album cover, and I don't know what else you could do with this album cover. Like it's like kind of like Ohms. I didn't really know what else to do, but I just did it because I felt like, hey, that'd be kind of funny. So it sits around Ohms too. I just don't like it that much, anyways. It's not as creative as Ohms, and Ohms isn't even that creative, so I won't even give it that. All right, Pasadena. Oh my god, yes, fucking love this one. Pasadena by Ozma, great album. Probably not their best, but you know, I gotta take what I can get. So Pasadena, um, when I was making this, I really wanted it to be like the cornerstone of any Ozma related material that I made. I think I did pretty well. I mean, it's not tailored to what the original album cover was all about. It was more, I made it TF2ified clearly, but it's definitely got the looks thing going on. I don't know. I just like it a lot. The scout here doesn't really, scout on the bottom left doesn't really have the best, like, he isn't posed the best. Everything else looks like fantastic, so I'm not really that worried about it. So I'd put this up there with like Deftones self-titled because I'm actually really happy about that one. So there you go. Yeah, Ozma's better than Foo Fighters. You heard it here. Anyways, God, that is such an old take. I do not want to say that unironically. All right, Pinkerton Deluxe. Well, more specifically, just Pinkerton by Weezer. Um, so Pinkerton Deluxe, or yeah, Pinkerton. I had a lot of fun doing this just because I really tried and tried and tried so many times to make Pinkerton look like a good album cover in Gmod or SFM. I'm pretty sure this was SFM because they all looked like shit in Gmod. This is when it looked good, finally. And I tried with the stars and I tried to make it look properly like a Pinkerton Deluxe with a little bit of TF2 font in the top left. Um, it's not that good. Like I would actually change this to Weezer font if I could, the top left thing, but it looks good. And the bottom, oh whoops, the bottom even looks fine. Like it looks a little, the lighting looks a little outdated because it's kind of like SFM that doesn't quite. It wasn't quite when I understood SFM lighting, and it looks good, but it's not like there's some flaws with it. But this was probably the best I could do with Pinkerton, considering it was one of the cornerstone albums of my life. So I would say bottom of S, just because it definitely did its job of just succeeding every other Pinkerton that I made because they all looked like ass. This is where it's at right here. That's where it's at. Let's see. Then we have Power Chords, finally. Power Chords by Mike Kroll. Mike Kroll really I think I put my where did I put I put okay, so I put I Hate Jazz like in the A, like middle A, just because it does its job, but it's not like that cool looking. This one is cool looking. I tried really hard with this one to make it just look like at least crisp. And the lighting looks natural, and the poster kind of fits in really well. The lighting outside actually fits in really well. I've probably used this exact bed and then on this map like 3 times at this point. But it's pretty. I liked making this one a lot. So probably like bottom of S. It just looks nice. And there's no text to intrude on it. It just looks good. So there's that. Then what do we have? Return of the Rentals. Oh, this is a good one. Yeah, and it might look funny on the recording just because it's kind of like got that weird effect that Ohms also has. Return of the Rentals. I loved this album when I was still listening to Weezer a lot. This album kind of grew on me or kind of shrunk on me. I mean, and it was it's not that good. But the album cover that I made actually looks nice. I don't know if this is actually Gmod or SFM, but it actually kind of just looks like SFM by default. So I'm not even that mad. And the polarizing effect or whatever it's called, I actually did a really good job on. At least I'll say. I'm just kind of like in between on that. I don't know. I think it looks good. So I might put this in like top of A because some parts of it I don't like. I don't. It makes me question if I made this in SFM or Gmod because it kind of looks off, but certainly looks better than anything I would have done like recently to it or like before that, I guess, with like somewhere in the middle Gmod. All right, Rock and Roll Part 3. This is actually a remake of something I did a long time ago because it looked like it had a bunch of people I didn't really want to be in it because it's an Ozma album. But in trying to make this like in trying to stray away from just the straight up effect of pixelization of the original album and it looks kind of basic, I went for a more like brushstroke effect and it looks more scattered and like it's some kind of poor recording or like some kind of like fucked up recording. I think I like this a lot more just because it gives off that neon vibe and it just makes it look a little more nerdy as opposed to I mean the nerdy vibe could be contained within like something that uses pixelization or like really good pixelization, but I feel strongly that this is a better rendition of it while trying to make it look HD but also trying to make it like pop more. So I'm gonna say this is like also top of A just because I could have gone with the pixelization thing like I did in the Gmod version of this, but I strayed away just because I was just kind of like, well, this could be interesting, and it actually turned out pretty interesting. It looks good. Like this part, 100% looks good. And I did this weird effect down here that makes it look kind of pixelized, but it's not really. Um, but I enjoyed the hell out of making this one again because man, this one also really needed a facelift, and it was just not good in the original. So yeah, I'm glad I did that. Then we have a really nostalgic one. I don't even know if, like, besides Maddie, if anyone knows who's in this like anymore. So this is Smashing Pumpkins' greatest hits, and I made this when all the people in this picture. I don't know if I made this recently or if I made this when everyone in this picture were still friends. I'm still friends with Maddie. I'm not friends with the person on the left, and I'm still sort of friends with the person on the right. So this idea was kind of thrown to the side. I actually like this poster a lot because the the idea of the picture in the Smashing Pumpkins greatest hits thing kind of brings out nostalgia anyways because of the black and white and like how they looked like kids essentially in the picture. And that's how I feel with this just because that's how we all used to look essentially just when we were kids online. So comes as no surprise that I give this thing a shit ton of nostalgia points. And for anyone actually looking at the poster itself and being like, this is missing. Like this whole his hat is see-through because it was a glitchy hat. Everything else looks solid though. Like I'm actually pretty good about this album just because I like it looking at it. If you look at it from afar, to me, it's perfect. It looks like the original sort of, and it just kind of feels nostalgic with that black and white shit anyway. So it does what it does, and it looks fine. I'd say it's a bottom of S just because it looks pretty solid otherwise. Saint Cecilia 8P Foo Fighters. It's just a solid TF2 thing. I don't really know what else I could have done to this besides just I don't know this. So this is like all I really thought of. So for the sleekness of like the purple and the pink and all that in this, oh my god, I keep throwing this aside. For the purpose of making this like look sleek and actually look like it blends in really nicely with everything in this, um, I'm giving it like top of A, but I don't think I did like superbly well on it. It's a TF2 logo. I mean, can't really give that an S, considering it's a really simple edit. Saturday Night Wrist is another Deftones album, and this one I'm not really entirely happy with. The original, I would just say look up the original. I don't want to put it on screen, not because it's like bad or anything, just because it might be problematic. But I feel strongly that using the original was probably the only approach I could have gone with this. But then again, it kind of looks like ass because I put it straight over each person. Like the eye of the scout here is straight over an eye. The pyro here is straight over a person, but you actually can't really see it. So you like look back here at this eye, and like behind his eye, and it's kind of weird. The spy model looks kind of funky. I don't know why it looks like that, but I think I tried to fix it at least to some degree. The hair doesn't look terrible. It kind of just blends together a little bit. There's problems I have with it. The Heavy's face doesn't look that good. Kind of looks like a ghost. So I'd say it's like somewhere towards the top of A, even though the actual album is like up here, but it's somewhere up there. I didn't do that great with this one because it just kind of looks funky. And I could have done probably a little bit better. Shapeshifter. This has my friend Kyle in it. If I can actually click the right thing. I think I did a nice job in this in making it look like a classic Gary's Mod poster. There's clipping issues, obviously, but that also could just be a callback thing. I think this is an old SFM that I did, and it kind of almost looks like just a traditional Gary's Mod thing that looks really good because of just, you know, how it's intended to be looked at. And for that alone, I'd probably put this in like upwards of top A, just because I think it actually looks nice for that purpose of making it look aesthetically appealing to anyone who likes the Gary's Mod thing, as opposed to SFM. So there's that. That's all I really have for Shapeshifter. Shiny and Oh So Bright, Volume 1 LP No Past. Oh god. This one I tried to do a funky effect that I realized you can do in SFM, where you can render it just as a black and white thing, except it looks kind of funky. It actually doesn't look terrible like C. It actually, or I mean, Blue, but it almost, it's like just marginally better because the shadows actually look decent, and there's some theming going on that actually looks proper to the album cover, but it's only like barely above Blue because I don't even think like this should deserve like B, just because it just seems kind of odd. I don't know, but I'll put it in B just because like that could be fine. That's pretty harmless. Soak the Master Sessions by Holy White Hounds. I haven't really been able to do any Holy White Hounds album covers because they're kind of thematic or really abstract, I should say. But this one I was kind of able to just make something similar to the original. This is Soak the Master Sessions 1. And I just kind of threw my soldier from a previous poster and made it look like something funky. So no surprises here. It doesn't look that great because it's just a recycled poster, but it certainly just looks like something. I don't know. It's at least got something going on to look like the original, and it's not really even that bad. I don't like it that much because you can just kind of see the effects that go on. It's pretty simple. I'm not the biggest fan. The text looks good and the outline stuff looks good, but that's about all I can really give it. So there's that. And then Soak the Master 2 with my face on it. Oh my god, why is this one huge? This one is huge. Alright, anyway, this is Soak the Master Sessions 2 by Holy White Hounds. Kind of better. It kind of has more of an aesthetic, and it goes with the album cover again, but it's just ever so marginally better than the original. Or I mean than Soak the Master 1. It at least looks kind of funky or nice. I keep using the word funky, but I don't know. It just looks kind of aesthetically pleasing to look at least. It's my character, obviously, but it's something. What do we got next? Social Cues. Oh man, I wish this album was actually better than the album cover I made. I liked this album when it came out, and it kind of just shrunk and became nothing. I'm not a big fan of this album, Cage the Elephant and Social Cues. But album cover wise, it looks pretty all right. I'd say this is like probably towards top of A, just because it looks nice and it's tailored to the it's tailored to the idea of it being TF2 and the original, which is Social Cues, and it looks pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan of like the flower in it, just because it looks kind of poorly lit up. But honestly, that's like one of the least of my concern with this one. Or that's probably the biggest concern I have. I mean, everything else looks good in it. So all in all, this looks fine. I'd probably put it at top of A just because I had fun making it. Because it took a while. It took a long time to make that one, surprisingly. Songs from the Laundry Room featuring me and Maddie. I tried to make it look like a 70s or 80s like vinyl cover, and that's really all I got. I tried to make it look a little bit more interesting than the original, which is Songs from the Laundry Room by Foo Fighters. Because that one's just a bunch of like yellow tape or whatever. This one is me trying to make it more aesthetically like, oh, we're going into the past. Right, okay. So for that, I guess it's not that interesting to look at, but it kind of looks cool. I mean, I don't know. I'd say it's like top of A at least, because it at least has like a funny kind of vibe that makes it look old. I mean, if I zoom in a little bit, you might be able to see like tried really hard with the like making that look proper and not just kind of forced, but it kind of looks forced anyways. But you know, it looks pretty good for what it's worth. Now where are we at? All right, Sonic Highways by Foo Fighters. So this one, I had a lot of fun making too. It's a lot of sequences, aka taunts, but it's actually really fun to do it posted this way, just because sometimes it feels more TF2 if you just use the source material. And this ended up feeling a lot like TF2. So, and I know there's no, one of the downsides to this one is there's no demo man, which, you know, very sad. But I think I did a better job on the red side than I did the blue side. But that's kind of just up to interpretation. I had fun making that one. It's like a is like bottom of S, just because I like if S is the album covers I want to make more of, it's that it's in there somewhere, because this is somewhere, this is something along the lines of what I would want to try and do again, because it looks good. I could do some more stuff with it though. I guarantee I could. This is also Ozma spending time in the borderline. There's some Japanese undertones to Ozma's third album. I mean, at least third public album. And I just kind of leaned in a little bit and tried to make it more like, oh, well, we're going into the weeb zone. So that kind of happened. Scout's face doesn't look good in this one. Someone pointed that out on Reddit, I believe. But overall, I think I actually had a lot of fun making this one. It's definitely not my best, but it kind of has its own vibe that's not just simply the original album cover of Spending Time. It's just it's got a nice like Japanese intro looking vibe, like an anime intro looking thing. So there you go. I'd say top of A, just because it's got its own unique thing that I strayed a lot from the source material. So yeah. Next we have, let's look. Like I don't know. The Bends. Ah, classic. So the Bends, if you're not familiar, Radiohead album, and I can't. Oh my god. Yeah, another one of those weird ones where if you zoom in and out a lot, it kind of looks funny because you got that weird effect with the lines and shit. But look up, I'd say look up the original if you don't know what this is, because then you'd actually kind of understand. So yeah, and this is actually looks kind of nice when you do that weird effect with the line. This one's probably like a comfortable bottom of S, just because, or maybe like top of A, because I could have used a different character like Scout, and it would have actually probably looked better. But I thought Heavy would have looked funnier because it's also more TF2 recognizable. So that's, I guess, why I used Heavy. Like if I did Scout, I probably would have made that like an S because it probably looked more accurate. Color and the shape. I made this way back when I still did Gary's mod, I believe. Maybe it was, I think this was SFM. I think this was SFM. Yeah, just, it doesn't look that good for an SFM because it's just a bunch of weird items strewed, look like the Molecules album cover. And it's not that great, but it's probably the best of like the B, and that's all I really got. It's not really that interesting. Double Donkey Disc from Ozma. Oh yes, I drew this one. So I drew on top of the original Double Donkey Disc and just put my engineer on it. And this is this, I mean, it's just the album cover. There's not a lot to say about this one because it kind of just is the album cover. So I've just noticed, actually, as I'm ranking these, I'm gonna move Deftones up because I did not mean it to be like the bottom. Yeah, some of these I might have to move back up because, yeah, that's more like it. All right, but anyway, Double Donkey Disc. I'm probably just gonna put this in like bottom of A or something because I'm not really a big fan of how simple it is. But then again, what else could you do? It's kind of like where it stops. So, yeah. All right, let's get on to White Stripes. I'm gonna try and finish this in an hour. My God, it's already almost been an hour. White Stripes. Oh my goodness. I liked making this one. Kind of made it for Maddie, kind of made it for myself. And just because it looked cool with NG and Medic. Someone did point out a long time ago that these guys are actually swapped. They should be the other way around. Because one is the taller one is supposed to be on this side and the shorter one's supposed to be on the other side. But I think it looks nice, just considering it's like an upscaled version of the White Stripes cover, and it looks, if you get into the detail, it actually still looks really nice. I just like it a lot. This one, like, I'd be comfortable like framing or something, just because it looks pretty baller. This is probably like an S tier, like bottom of S tier somewhere, just because it's pretty solid. Like I have a hard time hating it. All right, then we're on to There Is Nothing Left to Lose by Foo Fighters. This is a redux because I seriously hated the first one that I did. It looked like ass. And this one actually looks more usable and like easier to look at. This is probably like some of the details kind of still look wonky, but I at least tried with the tattoo and tried to make the helmet and etc. look more legible and like readable, I guess, when you're looking at it. I'd say bottom of S, just because not like the album itself, obviously, but like this is at least something I can look at. It's not that bad. It's really hard to pull something like that off in SFM, honestly, because you have to low res the shit out of it. Third Eye Blind. Well, by Third Eye Blind, I had trouble making this one, if you couldn't tell. It's just kind of like, if you look up the original, it's harder to make something like this than it looked. It's just not that easy. So I'd put this in like top of B because it doesn't look that aesthetically pleasing to the original, and especially if you zoom out, it doesn't look that good all of a sudden. But if you zoom in, it kind of looks cool and terrifying, but it at least looks better. So yeah, it's like a comfortable top of B just because it's not that good, but it certainly is better than the other things that came before it. And then we have Too Weird to Live, Too Rare, or yeah, Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. I am not a Panic at the Disco fan. I need to make that very clear. I do not listen to Panic at the Disco. But I did have a little phase where I did listen to this specific album. And it was actually a decent album for it being like pop rock and alt pop and etc. It's pretty good. The album cover I actually had a lot of fun making just because it's just nice to find a background like that and make it look as if it was trying to, look like the album cover, and it actually entertaining. And the detail actually looks kind of nice. It kind of doesn't look like Brendan Urie because I don't know if he doesn't look that sniper-esque, but I guess he looked sniper-esque enough that he just became sniper. And I did that nice little smoke effect because, yeah, this is probably like somewhere in the bottom of A, like album cover to make because it was at least fun. I don't really like the detail that much anymore. It kind of looks basic, but it was at least entertaining to make, and it kind of still looks cool. All right, then we're moving on to Transmissions from the Satellite Heart, which is this is the most recent one I think I've done by Flaming Lips. Good album as well as really entertaining album cover to make. It's just so like not detail rich, but just almost like trippy to look at. So then you kind of have to translate that into what you're making. And this doesn't look exact enough to the original, but it certainly is just it just looks clean and it looks good. So for Transmissions, I'd probably say this is uh like bottom of S, I'd say, because it's not like one of my best things I've ever made. But I put a lot of effort into it, and the result was pretty good for how much patience I had with this gosh dang poster. Because man, that was took a lot of patience. Then where are we on to? Oh, Urban Hymns. This is actually the most recent one I did. This was kind of a lazy one I did recently, just for a nostalgia trip. It looks like something I would have made in like 2019, but it's actually recent. Yeah, I kind of grew obsessed with this album for like a week, and yeah, that's about the end of that story. Um, it's pretty. It's just I intended to have someone in here, someone else for the fifth person that's on the left. That was supposed to be on the left, but I didn't really have anyone. So I was kind of like, fuck it. And it looks all right. It's definitely definitely looks more like a '60s album cover now that there's not like a crazy person left of it. But it's probably just like a bottom of A, like not great, but it still looks pretty solid album cover because I tried to give it my own vibe, but it doesn't really work that well. I don't know. It looks fine. It's kind of just not one of my favorites. Wasting Light, the original. This also has people I'm not really, or at least has one person I'm not really, not super on board with anymore. But definitely just one of the most fun album covers I've ever made. It's just good album cover and really fun to make. Probably a top of S, like towards the top of S, just because like it was so goddamn fun. It just has someone that in it that I'm not, super happy about is that is in it, but whatever. It looks cool, really cool. We Are Drugs by Third Eye Blind. Weird album cover, and I actually have the full art of this somewhere in my Steam library. But the album cover at least looks pretty presentable. It's a little awkward just because some of the posing is a little funny and the medic's finger is kind of fucked up, and some of the there's a little bit of clipping, but it's not so much that it's unbearable. So I'm at least happy with this one. It's like a top of A easily. There's problems I have with it, but the problems just kind of don't mean anything. So I'm not really worried about it. All right, anyway, let's get this over with before I get like to an hour. God damn. Now I have to blow through like a bunch of Weezer, so here we go. Black Album. Again, someone in it that I'm not really happy is in it. Specifically the engineer, if you kind of just get the idea. But not a great album cover. I mean, like, it looks cool and it kind of deviates from what Weezer did with their Black Album. Because it kind of looks like the opposite. Like, this is like a lit up version of something that almost looks like the opposite. But it's not that bad. I'd say it's like around here because it's not lazy. It's just certainly like not the most inventive album cover I ever made with me and my friends on it. So not that good, but it could be way, like, I could have been way more lazy about it. This is original Weezer. Um, this one was a lot of fun to recreate, at least for a second time. The first one didn't look that good, but this one's good. The second iteration of Weezer Blue is, yes, love it. So it's probably like, because the lighting is a little off and some of the posing is a little off, but everything else looks pretty solid. I'd say it's like a lower S, like about here, just because that's where I'd like comfortably put it. Oh, where did my photo go? Uh-oh, hang on, malfunction. We gotta fix this. All right, we're back, and with Green Album. So this Green Album one, I actually, I think I slightly edited over the years, but it's pretty much the original. The posings are kind of awkward, and the camera angle isn't perfect, but again, like most things on here, I'm pretty lenient about it. It looks good from even like a distance and up close to some degree. Um, I'd say this is comfortably like a bottom of S, just because it's solid and it doesn't. I don't have too many problems with it. Like if I would have way more problems with it if it was like the lighting was worse. Then we have. Wait, let me get to my browse here. Red Album by Weezer. This is a more recent one, redo of Red Album, and I'm actually pretty also happy about this one. The Scout looks kind of funny, and that's the only really problem I have with it. Scout's coat is too black, and I couldn't really change that in After Effects, but it's certainly more better. I don't know. It's just some of the lighting is definitely better than anything I've really done, and that's probably gonna sit at like around Green Album. Yeah, that's probably fair. Like bottom of S. Like it's good, but there's little tiny things I could still pick about. Like, yeah. Then we have Teal Album, which I actually pull up. Hang on. Teal Album here is something I co-created with Maddie, actually. It's really interesting how we did this. So I rendered it and edited it slightly, and then I gave it to Maddie, who photoshopped it to make Scout's hair look more, you know, like hair instead of a bandana with hair. And it looks pretty good for what we both did. I was actually really proud of this because she did the liberty of making it look a lot fancier, because it looked choppy and she really wanted to edit it. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, go for it. It's actually album cover wise, I'd almost put it like in between green and red, just because they're like about on par. So yeah. All right, let's get to the end here. White Album. Oh, thank God. One of the actually good album covers I did. This one's solid. I don't have many problems with it other than the fact that the text kind of looks funny, but it works pretty well with the concept. So the posing's a little awkward, but like then again, every Weezer album cover has weird posing, so it just kind of looks a little bit weird by default. I think this is like top of S tier almost. Like probably, should I say it's better than Maladrite? Probably not. I think it's just like top of S tier almost, because man, it just looks good for how basic it is as a White Album. All right, we're almost done. We got White Blood Cells here. This is, man, this is one that also extremely needed a facelift. Like I'm not even kidding this stuff. Like this looked bad in the back in the day when I made this. And then I edited this a lot to make it at least look like the second version of White Blood Cells, which is more like red, as you can see. And I actually think this is like one of the best iterations. Scout's white shirt is a little weird. Um, but it's also kind of red, and it kind of makes sense because we're talking about white blood cells and bacterium and all that. Red blood cells as well. So this is probably
Blake.
Accidental join.
Blake.
Accidental join. No
what?
shit.
What?
Pardon our interruption. Anyways, so white blood cells. Yeah, very good. Very like stupid good. Like I would probably put this above transmissions and like is like above Green Day, and like that's about where it stops. I'd probably put it as one of my bests if I really wanted to. Like up there with Davies Gray. Yeah. That's probably about where it should be. Alright. Now, there's an obvious thing to be had with White Pony. Or I guess White NG, it's also called. It's basic. This is like the easiest album cover recreation I ever did. I took the blue background of White Pony, made it orange to kind of resemble NG, and put a white PNG of an engineer down, and there you go. Parental advisory, it's done. White Pony by Deftones, everybody. There you go. It's basic, but I don't have problems with it. It's not like, offensive or anything. So it's probably just top of A because it's I put some effort into it in making it look kind of cool. Probably about where Another Light is because it looks cool, but it's not like I don't take a bunch of creative liberties with it. But yeah. Lastly, oh, this is a fun one to end on. Zerwi. Oh my god, why did I even do this? So to spite someone in my past that really just I had like 1,000 issues with, this was created. So yeah, I'd put this probably in like top of S if I really was impartial or was completely partial, but it's probably based on looks, it's original. If you want to go find it, is Zerwi by Billy Cobb. It's worth looking at. It's just a funny album cover. But if I had to be real with myself, it's probably like top of A because I edited it too much to blur and like try to blur the foreground too much and then make the background more clear, and I could do more. I could do more with it, but it's definitely just as is. It's definitely just at its best. Yeah. I can't believe that was the last one, but yeah, there you go. There's all my album covers ranked. Is that the word? Yeah, ranked. There you go. So, if there's anything to take away with this, do double check things when you're making SFMs or like any kind of artwork before you export. Because my god, that has saved me so many times to just look again. Best note of that is to look at the S examples and not B, C, D examples. Alright. Thanks for checking me out. Later, gamers.